and gentlemen, my name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is my review for Ant-Man, the original movie Ant-Man, directed by Peyton Reed. And I had to look up Peyton Reed because I wasn't familiar with who this was at all. And I was kind of surprised because the only movies that he's known for up to this point was the original Bring It On movie and Yes Man with Jim Carrey. So, one very much a comedy. And I'm assuming that that's kind of what they brought him in for. So you're introducing some characters here. You have Paul Rudd coming in as Scott Lang, who becomes Ant-Man. Michael Douglas is Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man, and also the inventor of the suit that allows people to shrink. You have Evangeline Lilly coming in as Hope Van Dyne, which is Hank Pym's daughter. And she really wants to have one of these mechanized suits herself and be on these missions herself. And she's very resentful when they pull in Scott Lang to be the Ant-Man. Okay, so to start out, you find out that Scott Lang is just getting released from prison. He did some corporate hacking and gave some people who had their money stolen back to them. But he got caught, had to go to prison for it. While he was in prison, he made this friend named Lewis, who was played by Michael Pena, who was absolutely hilarious in this movie. He had a lot of really, really funny moments. I really enjoyed him. So Lewis brings in this guy, Kurt, played by David Dastmalchian. I hope I got that right. And Dave, played by Tip T.I. Harris. And so these guys want Scott Lang to go on another mission to steal something. And Scott Lang's trying to play it cool. He's trying to play it straight and narrow. He gets a job and winds up losing it because they find out he's a felon. And so he decides to go on this trip with these guys to go steal this, whatever it was. They didn't even know what it was. And it turns out it was all orchestrated by Hank Pym himself. And so they're actually stealing from Hank Pym's personal house. And so he finds the Ant-Man suit, Scott Lang does. And it was at that point that Hank Pym starts talking to him and he realizes that he got a little bit more than he bargained for. And so they get in contact with him, and it turns into training. Evangeline Lilly's character, Hope Van Dyne, is training Scott Lang, and of course rather reluctantly because she wants to be the person in the suit. Unfortunately, Hank Pym also had a business partner named Darren Cross, and of course this is going to be the bad guy, the business partner that didn't get what he wanted. He didn't get to be the Ant-Man, he didn't get the suit. Pym wouldn't share his technology, so this guy decides he's going to reinvent the technology himself, and so Darren Cross becomes Yellow Jacket, which is, of course, an arch enemy of Ant-Man. So the training begins. It's pretty awkward at first, and then you start to get the story unfolding about how Hope Van Dyne wants to know what happened to her mother. Her mother died, and Hank Pym wouldn't tell her what happened. And eventually it came to a breaking point where Michael Douglas told her that this is what happened. We were on a mission, and she had to go subatomic. Subatomic means that you're basically not coming back. You're just going to shrink forever. And so to get through this metal plating from the suit that this bomb was wrapped around, she had to go subatomic and stop the bomb. Hank Pym couldn't do it. And so he finally revealed that to her, and there was kind of a connection there between Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne. And so she helps him kind of bridge the gap and actually become Ant-Man. And so they send him on his first mission, which turns out they didn't know was an Avengers facility, but it turns out to be an Avengers facility. And so the only Avenger that was there was Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, Falcon. And there was a really cool fight scene between Ant-Man and Falcon. It was funny, it was visually stunning, very, very well done. And so he gets this Pym particle back for Hank Pym, and now they are going to be able to stop Darren Cross from, making his own version. And we find out a little bit later that he's also going to try to sell his version to Hydra. And so obviously not the best guy. So very cool fight scene at the end. You have a lot of good special effects with the shrinking and making Ant-Man look like he's actually like, an insect size, surrounded by these normal everyday size things. And it was actually phenomenal the way they did it, like him hiding by running through carpet fiber. I thought it was genius sometimes how they worked it out. And they did a lot of very cool things with the technology that Hank Pym created. He has this one solution that shrinks things and another solution that enlarges things. And so sometimes, especially during the end fight scene, some of that stuff gets carried away. Like they have a little toy engine that they accidentally make huge, and it like bursts out of a house window and lands on a cop car. Really cool stuff like that I thought, A, was just visually a wow moment, but B, it was pretty funny too. And they had some great comedic timing with some of that. So very cool. Very, very cool. And of course, they get to stop Darren Cross. They wind up killing him when Scott Lang decides to go subatomic because his family is right there. Darren Cross is going to kill his family. The only way he can get through the armor is to go subatomic. And so Darren Cross just shrinks into nothing. And then Scott Lang figures out how to come back from being subatomic. He figures it out. And so there were a lot of questions that Hank Pym had for him because of that. And so very cool moments. And I really like how it started the movie too. At the very, very beginning, you see that they're trying to get S.H.I.E.L.D. They are trying to get Hank Pym to share his formula with them. And of course, he's not going to do it. And you had a couple of cool cameos there. You had John Slattery as Howard Stark. You had Haley Atwell as an aged Peggy Carter. I thought that was a nice touch. So it was very, very cool. At the mid-credit scene, you get Hope Van Dyne and Hank Pym. They're standing in front of the Wasp suit. It's, the female version of Ant-Man. And so Hank Pym reluctantly says, you know what? I guess it's time we started your training too. She says it's about damn time. And then the end credit scene, you actually get another clip from the next movie, which is Captain America Civil War, which is Sam Wilson, Falcon, talking to Steve Rogers, and Bucky Barnes is kind of clamped down in this machine to protect him. And, they're talking about how they're struggling with being able to tell the rest of the Avengers something, and he's like, this is going to be impossible. And then Falcon's like, maybe not, I know a guy, and he's talking about Ant-Man. And so very cool, man. Very, very cool. A really fun movie. I was honestly walking into this thinking that, Marvel Studios have taken a lot of risks. A lot of risks. When it comes to starting with Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr., I think the Thor character was kind of a risk. I think the Guardians of the Galaxy were kind of a risk. But I honestly think that no more risk was taken than with Ant-Man. I just think it was something that could have come off very, very cheesy. And thankfully, Marvel Studios is very self-aware of what they're walking into with things. And they know how to make it relatable to the audience. And they know how to make it fun for the audience. And that's a big thing. Like movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, they've relied very heavily on making them comedies because that's how you're going to win the audience. Make the characters likable. And they've done very well with that. And so when you add on top of it some very, very good CGI, the special effects really looked great throughout. You hit a home run every time. Honestly, you really do. These guys have just been able to knock it out of the park every single time. I am going to give Ant-Man an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed myself. It was crazy, it was campy, it was quirky, but like I said, it was also self-aware, and it made itself funny. And so that didn't detract from anything. Very good all the way around. So ladies and gentlemen, that's my take on Ant-Man. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz, Kaged Nation, out.